Or to the cloud. All right. Cool. All right. We're recording. Hi, everyone. I'm Patricia. Thank you all for coming to our alumni Q&A. We've got three wonderful guests tonight, and my co-host Josh Smothers is here as well.
Hello, everybody. I met some of you from Val's class where we did the mock interviews, which was a wonderful pleasure for everybody, I'm sure.
Oh, that's cool. That's
it was great. Everybody was doing it. But yeah, my name is Josh. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Development, and you guys may have come across me and you may not have just yet. Okay.
All right. So tonight we have three guests, like I mentioned. We've got Ethan, Valentina, and Sunny. I'm going to let them do a brief introduction of themselves, and then Josh and I will launch into our questions. So Ethan, why don't you go ahead and go first and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Ethan. I graduated this past year, 2022, from San Francisco, and I'm working as a story artist now. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Welcome. Valentina.
Hi guys. My name is Valentina. I'm Brazilian, and I came to CCA to study animation. I also minored in writing. And then I graduated in spring 2020. Yikes. Pretty much the worst time possible to graduate, but yeah. And now I work at Bayvac Media as an instructor, and I do some admin stuff as well.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. And Sunny.
Hello. I see a couple of people I know, so I'm like, hello, nice to see you guys again outside of club. And I'm Sunny. I graduated alongside Valentina in, was it May of 2020? And I also graduated with a major in animation and a minor in writing and literature. And now I used to work as a QA at Steel Wool, and then I went full-time at an education studio called See Here Studio, where I work as an instructor and a content creator.
Awesome. So all of our non-guests, if I could just have you mute your microphone, all of our attendees, if you could just mute yourselves, that'd be great. So those of you who don't know me, I'm Patricia Kavanaugh. I'm a teacher at the CCA Animation department, and this semester I'm teaching computer animation too. And I put on these events, and thank you so much for this great turnout. Let's jump into our questions so that we make the most of our time together tonight. I'm gonna start, and feel free, Valentina, Sunny, and Ethan, like jump in. We want to, give you all equal time, but if there is a question that we ask, and you like me, feel free to just jump in, and we'll just, we'll just make sure you each get your own individual amount of time to talk. But first question is, what was your job or internship search like? About how many places did you apply to, and how long did that process take before you finally landed something?
I can go first.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I kind of lined mine up with taking Valerie's portfolio development class. So that kind of worked out because she kind of like hammered in that you need to have your whole list of A, B's, and C's. So she had that towards internships and also job search. So that's kind of how it went for me, where I had I think I had 5 places under each of them. And then I'd applied to Disney and then Pixar, the usual big name ones. And then at that point, my work wasn't anywhere near where it should have been. So obviously I didn't get into any of those places, but it was a great practice to kind of just get through the motions of everything and go through the practice of creating a whole portfolio and writing all of those cover letters. And when I did end up interning, I interned at this small studio called Animon. And we recently released our film a year ago. It's called Let's Eat, so you guys should check that out. And that one was actually the CCA mailing list. So stay on that animation mailing list because people keep reaching out. They're like, hey, I graduated so-and-so years ago. I'm working here and this is what we're doing and this is what we're looking for. So I ended up sending them an email saying, hey, this is really cool. I really like your story. Are you guys looking for anyone who can do so-and-so? So I applied to I asked if I could work on their lighting team. And then they were like, well, we're not looking at lighting right now. We're looking for someone who can do textures in 3D. And then I was like, I don't know much about it, but I'm willing to learn. And that was kind of like my foot in. And then that kind of started me on this whole track of being more on the tech side of animation. So that was kind of how that went for the internship search. So it was Valerie's class ended in fall. It was like the fall one that I took. This email was sent out in around the spring break time for the semester after. And then it was like a whole like harrowing 2-week process of me waiting for them to respond to me. And that was that.
Cool. Ethan or Valentina, you want to jump in with what your experience was like?
I would love to. I actually also took that class, and oh my God, like I'm gonna be fully honest, that gave me so much anxiety. Just like at the time when I took the class, it was my last semester at CCA, and I just remember already being so burned out. Like that's a thing that happens a lot. I don't know if like Sunny and Ethan can relate, but I was so horribly burned out by the end of school, that taking that class and thinking about like, okay, right after college, like where are you gonna apply to? What internships are you gonna try to get? But like it just felt like so much to me that it was like it kind of carried on as school ended and like the summer started and I was just like, okay, I have my resume, I have my like demo reel, I have everything. I'm just sending it off like to all sides and not really like thinking about it past that, because it's normal not to get a response from this type of gig. And it sucked. And I did it for a couple months and I kind of didn't even want to get a job really because I was like depressed as hell and it was the pandemic. But then like Bayvac actually reached out to me because of someone that I knew from school. They needed an animation instructor. And then this person like recommended me. And I had never taught in my life, but I had some experience being a TA. So I was like, yeah, what the hell? Like, I remember what I learned from college. I would love to do a curriculum on what I think would be important for high schoolers. And then, I've been working there ever since, and teaching has turned out to be like super gratifying, and I have been loving it a lot, even though it wasn't what I like wanted to be doing at the time. So yeah, I'm gonna stop here now.
Ethan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. So, oh, am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Same as Sunny and Valentina, taking that portfolio class was super helpful. I took it in my sophomore year, just to try to get everything done as early as possible to force myself to make some kind of portfolio. And as a sophomore, I wasn't skill-wise ready for any internship, but I just wanted to apply just to get the practice in to let studios know that I'm applying, because studios keep track of that stuff. And on my own time, I would just reach out to people randomly in school who I know have gone through ABC route, and reach out to people randomly on LinkedIn, on Instagram, asking questions. Not give me a job, but just like, oh, so what was your journey like? What did you do? How did you solve these problems, X, Y, and Z? And a lot of times people did not get back to me, but some did. And those are really encouraging. And just keep taking in their feedback and applying it to further time the next time we apply. Yeah, and just by talking with people, that pool gradually grew and grew and grew. And I was able to meet some people at Pixar, who then we had a relationship, and I helped them out with projects, did it for free, for their own personal projects, and we grew this. We got to know each other, and they're like, yeah, we'll put in a referral for you. So it's don't feel afraid to reach out, say hi, ask questions, because the people you ask questions to, they were in your shoes. So yeah, I'm sure people are more than likely happy to help out.
Yeah, all three of you kind of brought up, which I think is a great skill and point to make, is that, you know, it really is about those connections, you know, people that you meet in school, people that you meet outside of school, you know, just those kind of casual conversations, they can lead you somewhere. So, so yeah, it's important to kind of keep those things going. Josh, you want to?
Yeah. So before I ask my question, I have to give Ethan some kudos, because you took the scariest route to get a job of reaching out to people and doing the networking thing, because that is very, very intimidating, especially if you're an introvert. But like that will get you so much farther, so much faster if you start to develop those relationships like you were doing to get a job, and not reaching out just to be like, hi, can I have a job kind of stuff. So congratulations to you. You did the hard thing that was very rewarding.
Yeah. Oh man, hearts beating fast for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question for you guys, did you all have an idea of what you wanted to do, either job or internship wise, after school, and how close to that are you right now?
You can go in the same order, or you can just jump in.
I'll go first. I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Okay. What did I want to do during college, or what direction I wanted to go in?
So like before you guys were getting ready to graduate, and you were kind of, you know, in the midst of, hey, school's going to end, I got to get a job or an internship. Did you guys have an idea what you wanted to do, and how close do you feel you are to that right now?
So I suck at computers. I know nothing about computers. Don't know how to like code or, you know, 3D animate per se. So I've always just been like, you know, pencil drawing guy, and I like telling stories. So storyboarding was kind of what I had a feel for. And yeah, building my own skills, taking story classes at CCA, and being curious on my own, watching YouTube videos, studying movies, asking people any tips or advice on story. And yeah, and now I'm a story artist.
Sunny, if you have something, you can go.
I mean, okay. I'll take it from you. Oh my God, that's like the worst question from me, because I swear every semester I might have told each and every one of my instructors that I'm going to do something else. Like I started CCA and I was like, I'm going to be an animator. And then for a solid 2 years in the middle, everyone who knew me was like, oh, she's going to blow glass and animate. So I was calling myself a glanimation major for like a solid 2 years in the middle. And then, as I said, I did that internship with Animon, and then I fell in love with lighting and texturing and then compositing. And I worked with my roommate and my close friend on her senior thesis. And we kind of like switched roles, where she was the director and I was the technical director. And I was like, okay, this is kind of what I like doing in the animation sphere. And then the one through line that I can pull from all of that is that I like teaching the most, but I like helping all of my friends out. I was like, oh, you're running into an issue over here. I kind of figured this out, so let me help you out. And then when I started working at the place that I'm working, where I'm basically teaching, and then I get to create the creative material that we use to teach, it kind of became like this ideal space for me to work in. So it didn't start out as, oh, I kind of know exactly what I want to do, but in trying a little bit of everything, and then kind of like in the end realizing that, oh, I do like teaching a lot, and I've been doing this a fair amount because I was a tutor at CCA, and then I also TA'd for the pre-college program. I was like, oh, okay, this kind of like makes sense. So that's the long and short for that one.
I'm really glad you went first, because I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said. Yeah. So when I was in school, at first, like in sophomore year, I discovered experimental animation, and then that blew my mind and it changed everything for me. And immediately, like, I did a 180 and I was like, no, I don't want to work for Pixar. I don't want to work for Disney. I don't want any of them. Like, no, I'm too good for all that. Like, I would, like I just like got in my mind. And so throughout CCA, I was doing experimental animation and I was having the time of my life and had incredible professors and mentors. And it was just like the best thing ever. And I was able to make a couple of short films that I'm really proud of. Um, and so naturally, when it came time to graduate, and I took that class that we mentioned with Valerie, and she was like, "Okay, girly, what jobs are you applying to?" And I was like, I don't want jobs. I just want to make my short films." And she was like, "Yeah, well, you can't do that. You need to pay the bills." So I was like, just like, ugh, I don't want to work with animation. Like, I don't want to animate for anybody else, blah, blah. But then, I started working at Bayvac and I started doing instruction and teaching and all that kind of stuff. And it just like made me realize the thing that I've liked always, more so than sitting down and animating and making my own films and having my own ideas, whatever, was like critiques where like people showed their films and I would like have feedback for them and they'd be like, "Oh wow, yeah, that was helpful." And that like collaboration aspect of like analyzing something and see how to make it better, that's what I really, really, really dig. And I get to do that teaching, more so than I have to sit down and animate and have all the pressure of coming up with ideas for a story. Um, so yeah, that just made me realize that what I actually wanted to do if I ever do work in the animation industry would be something more along the lines of like the production aspect of it, and the like ideas and feedback aspect of it, and not necessarily sitting down and drawing, which is something that didn't click for me in school necessarily because we needed to make films, right? Like we needed to be making those films. And so I made them. But then as soon as college was done, I didn't get the like, oh, I have this story that needs to come out, which is the feeling that I always really loved. So yeah, I would say that I'm very close to being okay with finding out what my journey really is and letting go of the expectations that I had in college or like having recently graduated college. So basically, I don't know where I'm going, and that's fine for me now. And it took a really long time for me to like be okay with it, but I think I'm finally starting to like accept and embrace the experience that I'm having. And also at Bayvac, I get to do a bunch of like admin stuff, which turns out I love. Like I love just like having a team of people that I check in with and like having a task list that I need to do and being in meetings and coming up with like new ideas and stuff like that. Like I didn't know I would like that, and it turned out that I did. So, and
Yeah,
I still
I think
haven't made
that's
films ever since I graduated, but I'm sure I will at some point.
I think that's a really great point, is that, you don't want to put yourself in this box too much while you're in school and like really limit where you're going to apply to and what you're going to try and do, because there's so many things that you just won't know until you actually do it, right? What you discovered. It's like, oh, I actually really like doing this. So I'm going to jump into our next question. Let's see, what advice do you have for students who are still currently in school in terms of how to make the most of their college experience before entering the working world?
I think I can go first on this one because even before I graduated, I was giving advice on this. Ask for what you want from school. Go to like your chair, go to your teachers, go to your professors, tell them what you want to learn, and just be excited about new things, even if they don't exist in the program already. Because like I know that the chair is Christoph now. I love you, Christoph. I think you're here. Anyways, Christoph is a really cool dude, so I'm sure you can go to him and just say whatever you want to do. But when I was at CCA, the chair was Rick, and I always tell this story, like I always think about it all the time. I hated computer animation and I had to take it. And at the end of every class, I sat there and complained. And instead of like telling me off or whatever, just walking away, Rick literally pulled the chair and sat next to me and listened to my complaints. And then he was like, oh yeah, I think we can fix this. I think we can do something about that. Oh, you want a class like that? I think I can make it happen. And was just like, and then that just made me realize like, oh, these people really are here for me. So like whatever I want to learn, they're gonna try to make happen. Truly, like in the animation department, I can truly vouch for that. So that's the advice that I would have is just ask for what you want because you're paying a lot of money to be here. And if you don't, you're gonna regret it. But yeah.
I can piggyback off of that actually too, because that's something I learned only in my senior year. So this is kind of going to go back and forth with like the whole kind of try everything out versus if you figure out what your niche is, like, you know, hunker down and do it. But I also know many people who are like, who figured out that this is what I want to do. And they basically catered their entire degree audit to do that. And now they're just like amazing at what they do. Like, a couple of you guys who were there when I graduated, Jonathan Gonzalez. So he transferred in as a transfer and he was just modeling is all I want to do. And basically catered his entire degree audit to kind of fit classes to make sense. And then that was something that I learned towards the end. And like Valentina said, make sure you speak to your teachers and make sure you speak to the program chair because Rick also did me a solid and helped me figure out how to get more of those technical directed classes in my audit as well. For, I believe, the last semester, I really wanted to take the new class that was being offered by Vaughn. It was the lighting and texturing class, but I just didn't have any room in my thing left anymore. And then Rick was like, oh, no, let's move these things around and figure it out. So that's like, if you have something that you really want to do, just like, you can always make that degree audit work for you. Just make sure you talk to your advisors and make sure you talk to your program chair to like make it work. And yeah, try all get use of all of those electives. Yeah, that's all I can say. Go blow glass. I don't know if it's still there in the SF campus though.
Yeah, I agree. Really great to ask your teachers questions, your peers questions too. People who are grades above you, to kind of help direct where you might want to go. But also, during my college experience, I felt like I really limited myself to just taking classes that I wanted to take that was streamlined, and I wouldn't really try other things, other electives. And I think that really sucked because coming out of college, I'm like, oh, I didn't get to try woodworking. I didn't get to, discover the Oakland campus, learn about its history, things like that. All these really cool electives that I didn't really get to try. And I think in college, there's always the pressure of like, okay, this is my major. This is what I'm going to specialize in. I'm going to stick to it and I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. I think what's really cool is there are a lot of people that I've met in the industry who started off as working in pharmacy or mechanical engineering or, theater. And then life kind of brings them back to animation. So there's, it's so cool that the school is a resource for you to figure out what you want to do in animation. But there's also, it depends on the person, depends on who you are. There's also, for me personally, not a crazy rush to a certain point that you expect yourself to be in. Have fun. If your friends are going out, just to check out a museum, going to the park, and you don't really feel like it, maybe you should go with them just to hang, just to have fun and try those things. I didn't get to do that, and I regret that. So yeah.
All right. Well, my next question for you guys, it's not necessarily just because I work in career development, but what sort of career-related things do you guys wish you knew sooner that you now know?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Okay.
No, Ethan,
So what sort of career related things that you now know did you wish that you knew sooner?
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll go. I thought you were ready to talk. Okay, cool. I'm sure Sunny and Ethan are gonna have really great answers for this. The first thing that popped in my mind is being an international student. Oh my God. You need to know your rights. You need to know what options you have after college in terms of visa. You need to know how to convince like an employer to hire you and to like go through if you are in animation and you like major in animation. By the way, look this up if you're an international student. If you major in animation, you can get a STEM OPT, which is basically 2 more years of being in the country and working after your OPT year. Talk to ISAP, learn your stuff, because this is like harsh, but it's true. After you graduate, you gotta be on top of your stuff. You have to be the one figuring out your visa stuff. And if you want to stay in this country, if you want to keep working here, if you want to like, I graduated after being here for 4 years, and now I've been here for like almost 6, and now I can't imagine leaving the country because like my whole adult life is here, right? Like my career is here, all my connections, like people who I consider family, all that stuff. So like, I cannot stress this enough. Prepare before you graduate, because not to scare everybody, but the US kind of sucks in terms of immigration. But it will be less pressure if you know what to expect. Also, always double check on what ISAP is talking about, because there's always like a very, very specific situation, and somehow you're gonna end up being in it, and it's like the exception of the exception of the exception, and you need to like figure out what to do. So also email me if you have any questions, because I've been through a lot. Maybe I can help you.
Ethan, you want to go?
All right, sounds good. Cool. Thanks, Sunny. See, something that I learned in the career was it's okay to just apply to jobs online. You send your portfolio, you send your resume, and that's that. That's cool. But I think it's really rare to get a job just by purely going onto the website and applying. Try reaching out to people in that field and recruiters from that company, because they're going through thousands, and it just helps to see like, oh, there's this guy named Ethan. Oh, he's interested. Oh, let's talk. We can talk a little bit. Oh, he seems kind of cool. Okay, so it's also helpful for recruiters if you can help them out by making yourself more present to them. And another thing about the career is that it's not too late. It's never too late to jump into the career you want to go into. Some of my friends from the internship are in like some of them are in their late 20s, some of them are in their mid 30s. One of them is in their mid 50s, and it's really cool to see people kind of do what they want to do and not worry about not getting to where they want to get to right after school. So no rush. Yeah, that's me.
Cool, Sunny, what about you?
I want to ask to have the question repeated again. So just like,
Sure. Actually, really quick before I repeat it, Ethan is laying down some really good truths here. And I want to give you guys a stat, like off of what he said about just like clicking apply. 85% of all jobs are filled by networking. So you can click till you get blisters on your finger, but knowing people is going to help you get into jobs a lot faster. And he just touched on it just a little bit, but when you guys are like enjoyable people to be around, and it kind of goes into what Sunny said a little bit about she didn't know something necessarily, but she was willing to learn. Those are the kind of people that they love to hire. Ideally, they want people who know how to do everything, but that's not a reality. But if you guys are enjoyable to work with and you guys are eager to learn, those are the kind of people that will get hired a lot faster than know-it-alls who are very difficult to work with. So that being said, let me repeat the question for you, Sunny. Okay, what sort of career-related things that you now know do you wish that you knew sooner, like when you were in school?
Oh, okay. I would, so definitely on like, since also an international student here, the whole like OPT thing it's wild. And like I believe Valentine and I got caught in that COVID timeline. So we got caught in this extreme delay where like at one point I was just like waiting, wondering if I could even start a job because I had an offer, but then I had no permit to work. And it was just like a whole ordeal. So just they have confusing timelines, but the thing is though, just like pay close attention to it, have someone else just read over it too, and then have a timetable. Because what I learned from my OPT application was that I didn't realize how soon I had to file things. So when the time for the extension came in, I was like 2 months out. I was like, okay, I know I need to do this. So just like get that process going a month in advance, just so when it's actually time to mail things out, you can mail it and forget about it. And then it's just going to happen in the background. And then it's going to come in the mail and you can be like, poof. So in the event that anyone is in that boat, just like there's like a 90-day thing from what I remember. So it's like, just pick the first date and then remember that's the date that you can start putting your application in. And there's a date after which you cannot put it in. Just keep those 2 dates in mind and remember that like things always take longer than they're going to. So that's also the career advice. Like things definitely will always take longer than you intend for them to, and move with that. So if you think it's going to take an hour, chalk time out for an hour and a half is the way that I would do it. And that's what I've been doing now too. Like anytime there's like, I also like, as Valentina pointed out, like having those tasks lists. So like, if you're like me and you like assigning like blocks of time and then color coding it, like just make sure you're giving yourself like a little bit longer than you think you will. And then that just kind of like, so when you're done early, you're like, woohoo, I have free time. And then when you're done in exactly the right amount of time, you're like, oh, okay, I'm on track. So
It sounds like the experience of both of you is that you have to be 100% responsible for your own visa and your own like work, your permission to work in the United States. I know that some like bigger companies will do that process for you. How, like, do you know anything about that yet? Like, have you come across?
So not
Yeah.
to like take this down that road too far, because it can
Yeah.
get very in the weeds very quickly.
Yeah, I just don't know much about it. But yeah,
Like Valentina said, everybody has like their own individual situations, but every semester I partner with Emily and ISAP and we do OPT sessions. We do like 6 of them, and we cover all of these things.
Awesome.
We just actually wrapped them up like a couple weeks ago, but the next sessions are going to be, I believe, sometime in February. So we're there for you guys. If you guys are international students and you have OPT questions, I do
Awesome.
the career stuff. I go over what kind of work you guys are able to do. Emily talks about all the different visas and the process and stuff like that.
Yeah, that seems like a really daunting thing to me.
Yeah, kind of like what Sunny said, there is a timeline. It is always adjusting, but Emily is very good about telling you guys when you guys need to do that kind of stuff.
Cool. So all of our attendees, we will definitely get email addresses of all our guests and of Josh, so that if you have any of these follow-up kind of questions and concerns, you'll have access to everyone and me also, if you want to talk to me. All right, I'm going to go to did we get everyone? Yeah, everyone answered that question. Yeah, we'll move along. We've already sort of touched on this a little bit, but if there's anything that anyone would like to add, what sort of pointers and advice would you give to other students as they begin their search for their own jobs and internships? I know you've all kind of mentioned a lot of stuff already, but I think one of the things that I notice a lot as a teacher and getting that question asked to me from students is where to apply. Because like you said earlier, Sunny, those big names are the real obvious ones, the Pixars, the Disney, everyone like knows those names and everyone goes to those first. But is there a process that you kind of besides the networking process, in terms of like finding out the smaller places and the more independent places, like Bayback's been around a long time. And it's very strongly independent, film scene of San Francisco, but it's not something that like you would necessarily just hear about while you're at CCA. So how do you, maybe that could be kind of the direction of this question is like, how do you figure out where to even apply?
Maybe social media can be a good not mentioned solution, not solution, but like something that you can do. Something that I like to do, and this is completely off topic, but I like to find tattoo artists on social media. And if you look up Tattoo Bay Area, you're not going to find the tattoo artists that you want to find, which is like the ones with like the very specific, they do their own thing and it's really cool, whatever, like, the artists that do their own style and all that kind of stuff. Sorry about my cats are fighting in the background. Apologies. But yeah, I would say like Instagram can throw you into like a rabbit hole of art and artists and artists and stuff like that, and stuff comes up. You start following people, you see who they follow, and you kind of like build this web of like, oh, this is what the film scene around me is kind of like. And then you can start DMing people and asking about what they do. You can like have relationships with these people. And I know that like this is a lot to say to someone who doesn't like doing that and doesn't like to talk to strangers, but it's also a way to just find out what is being done around you, that if you throw onto Google is probably not going to pop up. I didn't know about the existence of the Bay Area of Bayvac until they reached out to me with like, hey, do you want to maybe work for us? Like it was someone that I knew. So yeah, I would say just like cast a wide net on the people that you follow on Instagram, or like LinkedIn is scary, but I guess LinkedIn too.
I was just gonna say that, like, how Valentina was like, go down Instagram. So I do that I do this thing when I stalk people on LinkedIn when I'm bored. I'm just like, oh hey, what are they up to? And then it's funny because like it also like pops up and shows them that, oh, they've looked at your profile. So if you like get over that, because I'm like, well, what they're just gonna think about it for like 5 minutes and then go about their day, make dinner or something. Because I know I do that, but then like from there, you can have the whole, like, you see their connections and you see their interests, and then you can like filter down from there. That makes it a little bit easier to kind of see what other people have done and then kind of like snoop through their trail in a way and then get that. But more importantly, it also just like boils down to just like talking to teachers and people around you. And then, like I said, keep an eye out for that animation mailing list. Like things keep coming through there. Some of them might be interesting to you, some of them might not, but just like keep reading through it. Don't like put it into the update side of your Gmail and like never check. Just like keep reading it, because like I said, that Animon thing popped up on there and I learned so much from that one gig that I did that like it's like immeasurable. So that's another really good spot for like looking for local studios, because it's people who have gone to school or know someone who went to school that's like reaching out and finding places.
Really quick, Ethan, before you answer, I want to kind of chime in off of Sunny's stalking people on LinkedIn. Totally acceptable and normal to do in a professional setting. So if you guys have interviews, it is actually good if you do that, because people will see you're preparing for it. The other thing is, in addition to your guys' mailing list, when you guys graduate, like if anybody's a current student, you're not able to join it yet, but the alumni department in CCA, they have a alumni group page on LinkedIn. There's over 3,200 folks who graduated from CCA. And to Ethan's point earlier about how like people kind of like meander away and then come back to animation, there's people from every program in all companies like across the board who are in there. And that's a great starting point as well if you guys are looking for things and what people are up to.
Cool. Yeah, LinkedIn is weird for sure, but it helps. Yeah. Let's see. Oh man, I'm not the expert on finding small studios. But I do know that when you big studios, they tend to have employees who kind of stop their journey at that big studio and start their own thing. From Pixar, there's like Taco House, Cuckoo Studios, Babao, Spire Animation, and those companies, they're all relatively small, a little bit more attainable when it comes to talking to someone there. But if you follow the big companies and you keep track of people there, uh, what tends to happen is that those people move on, learn what they learned from those big studios, and start their own little thing. And those little things come up with really cool projects. Where it's and the small companies, they have way more freedom. They don't have big people upstairs, with the money saying you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. So it's these small companies are really nice to find and keep track of. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, so I think we're getting close on time. I don't know if this will be my last question for you guys, but my next question for you guys is, how did the animation program and also your peers prepare you guys for where you're currently at, your current role? Did you guys peer pressure each other into things? Did you drive each other to be better?
I can take this one first, give you guys time to think. But like I said earlier, well, the program was kind of like nudging me in that direction of like teaching, because it was the job at the LRC, and then it was the TA program for the pre-college thing that kind of made me realize that, oh yeah, this is actually really fun. And then as far as peers and friends, yeah, definitely having that group of friends that, like, for us, we kind of just always ended up helping each other for all of our projects. So it was like this tiny little like in-house production studio. That was my group of friends where we were like, okay, you know this, you know this, you know this, you know this. All right, so we can divide these jobs up and then figure out how we can help each other out for our thesis, for our junior projects. And then it also got to this weird thing where at one point, all of us would just like keep talking about new things that we learned as well. And we're like, oh, we found out about this particular thing, or we found out about this particular thing, and then end up sharing. And then I had a friend who would just like share documentation links with for Arnold and Maya. So having a friend like that is also really fun. You can be that friend too, and you're going to be valued and cherished as the friend who knows about these obscure things about render engines. Or you can have another buddy friend and you guys can exchange documentation with each other, which is what happened with me. So that's kind of what was the case with my friend group, where we all kind of had like varied interests. And when it was time for our junior projects or our senior thesis, we would end up like asking each other for help. And then I was the document friend, and then I had another document friend, and we would keep trading off links to each other.
That's so cool. Oh man, I was so antisocial during college. I did not have that, and that's so cool that um, that was a thing. uh, I think it is hard being introverted for sure, and finding people to talk to. But for me, working on a project was a way to push me to meet people. I know for animation industry, most people tend to work on their own project and they do everything by themselves. I can't color, I can't do sound, I can't music. I don't understand those things. So it really forced me to ask people at school, and not just in animation, but in the other departments, and to um, have that collaboration was really, really cool. Teaching, working with people helped me learn how to compromise on ideas, how to let go of some, and how to maybe some we can fight a little bit more for, how to talk in a constructive way. Um, yeah, those things at school and those people are what really help develop the soft skills um, that will you'll use in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely noticing a pattern, and I'm about to continue that pattern. Um, the way CCA prepared me was by the people that I knew. And I think I had a similar but opposite in a way experience to Sunny, where like my group of friends, almost none of them were in animation. And so I had friends in like ceramics and printmaking and like individualized, I had friends in film. And so like, because we were always really interested in like seeing each other's work and like learning about how did you do this? Like, I have no idea how to make like a ceramic pot or whatever. Like, I didn't know how to do that. Or like taking a class in printmaking and then making an animation and printmaking project that like kind of went hand in hand. So I think like all those things also helped me because it helped me broaden the processes that I come up with, because I think if you stay just in animation, then you like start going into like basically a production pipeline that is that's like very narrow, which is not a problem. But I think if you like start doing other stuff, if you like pick up a new craft or you like pick up a new art to do, that is going to teach you about animation in a way that you weren't expecting. And I think that's what my experience was with my friends. But I think it's really cool, Sunny, also that like your friends were like geniuses of animation, because to me I was like kind of like in the technical aspect I was still like basic animation stuff, and then in the like arty, the artsy aspect I was like galaxy braining. Yeah, so yeah, like just don't just do what your class is asking you to do. Also, another thing that I think was super important to me was my humanities classes always came up with stuff that I wanted to talk about in my projects. I always picked humanity classes that I was interested in because I love reading, I love writing, and all these classes like would basically fuel me into like the themes that I wanted to talk about through the medium of animation. So don't just take those, like take those and mean it, I think is like good.
Awesome. Great advice, all three of you. So expand your horizons, take other classes, and work together in groups. Like all really great advice. I want to leave some time here at the end. If anybody has questions, you can start putting them in the chat and I'll get to them, or you can also raise your hand and we'll get to them. But I just want to wrap up with the three of you by just asking, do you have some goals for the future that you want to share? Short term or long term?
Patricia and Meg know this. I reached out to them, but I'm currently in the process for applying for a master's program. So having worked for 2 years in this whole sphere of like creating content for education and teaching kids, the next step that I think that I'm super pumped for right now is getting into making like tech for education. So like figuring out what the creative side of my job can lean into and how it can make products that help teaching and like learning platforms, more interactive platforms. And that's kind of the future plan. The immediate plan is for me to get off this call and write my essay for my statement of purpose. And then the future one is to hopefully be in a program in the future.
Good luck with that. Yeah, that's awesome. Thing. For me, it's not so much a specific goal, maybe more of a wish. It's just that the people that you work with makes a huge difference, huge. And I hope that I can work with people and keep working with people who are just like really fun, that they have their opinions, that they're really easy to work with. And yeah, Pixar is not the only place. I definitely, when I was a student, I was like, oh, Pixar's a dream place. Everyone there is so cool. And I'll only find really cool people there. There's cool people everywhere. And I just don't want to limit myself to just big studios. Yeah, so my goal is just to keep meeting cool people and working with really cool people. Yeah.
Congrats, Sunny. I wish you all the luck in the world. That's so dope. I think my goal is to continue to figure out what I want to do. Like, I'm really liking what I'm doing right now, and I'm just like kind of like relaxed and open finally to see like what else is gonna jump into my path. But actually my goal is to go back to animating, which is kind of like weird that I haven't really done that in terms of like working on a project or like letting myself be inspired since I graduated because I was so burned out. But thankfully teaching animation requires you to do some animating, and that so like let me be connected to it in a way that wasn't exhausting. But yeah, I would say my goal is to like hopefully work through the rest of that burnout feeling that I'm still working through, and get back to animating because that's what I love to do, and it's been a really long time.
All right, do we have questions from anyone in the audience? You can put a question in the chat, or you can just speak up and ask. Or Josh, do you have any other questions?
I don't know if I have any other questions. I think that you guys are, it might sound a little like I'm not saying anything at the same time, but you guys are kind of doing the thing that happens with careers. You're kind of just navigating it and kind of just going where the waves are carrying you a little bit. And again, back to Ethan's point a little bit, like eventually you're going to get swept back into where you want to go. So I always tell everybody that nobody's career path is linear. It's very rare, like that you're just going to go here to there without any zigzags in between. So it's really cool to hear where you guys are all going and that you guys are doing what you want to do. And Valentina, I totally know you're talking about with the burnout, because when I got done with grad school, the last thing I wanted to do was do any printmaking, but I had a job in printmaking and I had to do that. So the creativity was not there for a long time, and then it does come back.
I really needed to hear this. Thank you. I know this is for like the current students, but like it's not easy graduating when you're burned out. I just want to let this like blanket statement out here. Like, guys, if you hate what you do after you graduate, that's normal, unfortunately, because especially animation is such a time-consuming medium, and we have to cram it into 4 years of college, and that's just not natural. It literally goes like directly opposite to the nature of the medium. So if you graduate and you feel like you don't like it anymore, that's normal, and you don't have to question everything, because that's what I did. And now I'm finally at a place where I'm like, actually, I love animation. I was just pushing myself too hard.
I
So
think that happens to students in school too, wouldn't you say? Like you're
definitely.
burning out while you're in it and you're like, wait, should I really be doing animation? I don't like it.
Yeah.
I was gonna kind of like hop in on that too and say like, pick another thing. Like I used to hop into the hot shop and like quickly make something in glass when I was tired of like looking at the Cintiq in 3 or 4. So like if you have a hobby like that,
Oh
go for
my
it.
God, the nervousness that you just brought up this room with this antique. I literally escaped that room by going and doing printmaking. So it's funny that Josh was like, I didn't want to do printmaking anymore.
Karina, do you have a question?
Yeah, hi. Thank you guys so much for all the advice. I was wondering, like, on the burnout topic, like, are there things or hobbies or like inspirations you look at so that you can like find that creativity outside of your career, like job? Yeah.
I'm so glad you asked. Yes, I'm a person who hops from hyperfixation to hyperfixation. If you see behind me, that's like a little IKEA like hobby wall thing that I've made, because I got into embroidering, and then I got into like rug making, and then I got into sculpting, and all those things gave me so much like, it was so nice to just like make something and for it to not be animation. And it has nothing to do with like, my expectations of my like who I am as an artist or whatever, like all that stuff, like get away from that. So yeah, like right now my hyperfixation is plants. Like I'm obsessed with plants right now. So yes, I definitely recommend just doing literally anything else that still allows you to be creative, but in a way that's like, I love fan art. I love fan art. Fan art is something that lets me escape from like the pressure of my own ideas. You know what I mean? Not that fan art isn't your own ideas, but whatever. You get what I mean. Yeah, just do literally anything else that you're interested in.
Yeah, I cannot recommend that enough. Like, I like baking. It was like a new discovery that happened. And what I liked about it was that it frees me up to do other things and something else on the side, and you get a reward at the end, which is sweet. So like if you guys like cooking or if you like baking, bread is brilliant because like it's so long, so you can do so much. Like you can clean your house, you can do laundry, and then you have bread at the end, which is basically my weekends now. So I'm like, okay, I want to make this bread and then I want to do these things in the middle. So yeah,
Those are good like mental health suggestions as well as creative suggestions. Things like gardening and cooking and just these other outlets are so good for your just like your mental space.
I can tell you really quickly, when I had my burnout, what got me back into this was I worked at a branding agency as their printmaking guy, and I didn't want to do any printmaking on my own. Just wanted to go do dumb Google stuff, just print it and go home. And my art director, he had like 2 kids, and he was like hustling up a storm with his own like clothing line of things he was printing. And I was like, this guy's got 2 kids and he's able to still do art. I can go sit down and I can draw. I can make some prints. I have all this time. This guy, he finds time to do things. So it's not going to come right away, but when it does come, there will be some little thing. It could be you like next to somebody who has like infinitely busier schedule than you, and it'll just kind of like kickstart you wanting to do something.
There's a couple of questions that popped into the chat and they're sort of similar. So when going to a convention, I don't know if any of the 3 of you have gone to any of the bigger conventions where all the places are all kind of in one spot. Any advice for attending those, or just tips for starting conversations with people through social media? So the in-person tips for starting conversations at a big venue and tips for starting the conversations in a smaller social media space. I feel like Ethan, you might have a good answer for this since you do a lot of that.
Oh man. I haven't been to a lot of conventions. I'm going to Lightbox this upcoming weekend. That'll be like my first one. So I don't know what to say there. Reaching out to people online is really hard because there's a little lack of like connectivity with it being online. But oh man, I'll have a better articulate answer if you guys can email me this answer and I will respond back. I promise. But overall, the underlying thing is just they're human. I'm human. We're just people. Ask questions that you're genuinely curious about in a way that will encourage the other person to share. And yeah. Oh man. Okay. Email me and I'll get back to you. Yeah.
Ethan, I can pick this up if you want.
Great. Yeah.
I can say here's a funny thing. I go on my like rabbit hole Instagram things, right? And I just start like randomly following people. Someone that I met through Instagram who's an animator who I didn't know taught at CCA is Anna Firth. And she's here. Hi Anna. Literally I didn't know that she taught at CCA, and I just started following her because I found her Instagram randomly and I thought her stuff was really cool. And then we like eventually, I think I responded to a story that she posted, or she responded to one of mine or something like that. And then, like ended up talking about stuff and like just I love the hype professor in the chat. That's so funny. Yeah, so like just kind of like message people or like their stuff and just be like, hey, I'm really into what you do, like and just be like asking questions about what they make, or like You know, if you have a specific question that you want to ask, if you're like, oh, I really like that effect that you got on that animation, how did you do that? People are usually so excited to talk about how they did things, especially for animation, because like it takes so much to make an animation. Yeah, most people are going to be really friendly if you just DM them and you're like, hi, just like wanted to say hi, I really like your stuff, and just get a conversation started and react to their stories, because that's easy. You just have to click a button and then they're like, oh, cute, you reacted to my story. Anyways, that's what I do.
All right, any other questions from anybody? I want to kind of double what Meg said in the chat and just thank you so much for coming here and sharing all your thoughts and experiences. And I'm really proud of all of you as well. It's always like so rewarding to see where all the students end up, because it is just like, you know, everybody has their own path, but every path is always super interesting. And it just really feels like you're all having fun and on this new adventure. And thank you so much for sharing it with all of us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Should we put like our Instagrams in the chat, so if you guys want to DM us questions or whatever? You can do that?
Yeah, whatever you're most comfortable with sharing, either your direct email address or like Instagram handle, or you know, wherever you want to get in touch with people, share that in the chat. And now I have my cat invading Valentina.
My
Julie.
cat has been yelling the whole time. And I was like, Jesus.
I can't hear them, but
I'm glad, because
They're-
it's really loud.
but the one we got to see was very cute. All right, Josh, anything you want to say in closing?
My last thing that I would say, not necessarily applies to you guys, but to the folks who are coming up behind you, is that your first job is not your last job. So it might not be where you guys want to be, but you guys will get where you want to be. You just gotta be a little bit patient.
Also, Josh, can you put your email address in the chat?
Sure thing.
If anyone wants to reach out to you. So, all right, let's wrap it up then. Thank you again to our guests and all of our attendees. And thanks, Josh, for co-hosting again. It's really fun to do these. And hopefully we will do another one next semester.
Everybody get ready to go to bed. It's getting late.
I know. Go get your jammies. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Bye. What's bed? True.